So we've been going through 1 Thessalonians as a letter, and we've gotten to the final part, so we're moving on, but we have this final little bit. And Paul, like all good trained people, speak in a certain rhythm, in a certain way. At the beginning of the letter, he starts with a positive. At the end of the letter, he ends with a positive. And in the middle, he might have some constructive criticism. Okay, I actually was taught this in the HR, in the corporate field. They think they're so innovative. It's called the positive sandwich or some kind of a crazy thing like that, where they, you're a special snowflake, but you're awful at your job. But we appreciate you, right? We think that's our thing that someone can. No, Paul, they've been doing that for years, and how that thing kind of comes up. And today we're going to talk about that, because Paul just gets right into it, and he wants us always to remember that we are to encourage one another and build each other up, just as in fact they are already doing. And so this last little part kind of lifts up and personifies our calling, especially as Christians, to be a positive influence on those around us. I've mentioned this before. I don't know why it is. Maybe it's from being so tall and big my whole life. People are usually intimidated when they meet me, but after you meet me for the first time, you usually smile. So when I enter a room, you smile. When we interact, you smile, and I like that. I don't know whether it's I look a certain way that makes you smile at me, I'm funny looking, or I'm actually like positive or something. So whenever I come in, there's this interaction. Now, we've all been around the other people. You're like, oh my gosh, here they come, and here's the downer. You don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. And so we do want to encourage people around us. It's a calling by God, but many of us misunderstand what that really means. It's sort of like the golden rule. Yes, we have this golden rule that we should do unto others as they should do unto us, but that doesn't mean we just pat people on the head and never challenge them and only say sweet things and protect them. And I wouldn't want that for me. I wouldn't want that for my kids. You wouldn't want that for yourself. And so what it means to encourage and to build up also means to kind of correct in a positive way, to say the truth when it needs to be said. There's lots of pieces that can be added to that so that you honor others, you encourage them, but also at the same time build them up. Because we don't want them to keep failing, right? You want to say, that was an awful job. What is that? But you want to do it in a build-up way, right? There's ways we can encourage and build people up. There's ways that we can crush them and pull them down. And this isn't just me talking either. Someone who's buoyant, someone who's positive, who likes to enter into those situations like that. This is a calling of God. Not only does Paul say this multiple times, but Jesus and in the Old Testament over and over and over again. This is just a flat-out command by God that we should encourage one another. This is important for us to know. And the end of 1 Thessalonians amplifies all of this. And so I thought one of the better ways for me to do this is I've done this before. Back in 2018, I brought up something like this, similar, but I'm modifying it today. We're going to bring out some excerpts from the 5 love languages from Chapman. If you've read it, great. It'll be a little kind of reminder for you. For those who haven't, get ready. Here they are. But I am kind of doing it in a John way. I'm kind of making it not about your spouse, let's say, or a close loved one, but for all people around you. Like, how do we play this out? How do we encourage others? How do we show this encouragement? How do we do this in a way that actually lifts people up? And I think they do a pretty good job of that. But I'm going to lay some ground rules as we go here, as it matters. First of all, to do these 5 areas in which we can lift people up and build them up, we need to be sincere about it, right? It needs to come from a place of true caring. One of the jokes we have, Sherry Bevilacqua works with me. She's our church administrator, and oftentimes she'll go, hey, John, you need to go talk. You better go talk to her. You need to probably bring up this to them. And so I go in there and I go, well, I've been informed that I value you by Sherry, and so I'd like to have a conversation. Now, that sounds very genuine, doesn't it? I'm being truthful, but that's not where we want to come from here, do we? You don't want to be forced into doing this per se. You have to generally have a love or a concern for the people around you for this to make much sense. Next, it needs to be done in words and actions. and actions. It needs to be both. And, don't worry, I'll take care of you. Oh yes, I'm here for you whenever you need me. And then you aren't when they need you? That's not very good. So we need to be there both in words and actions. So we need to cover that as we go. We need to be persistent. I say, I love you to my wife every year. Every year on the clock, right? So you're giggling. Sometimes it's pretty good to be persistent. Keep at it, right? And these are these actions where it isn't, hey, I did that for you last year. What do you want from me? This is something where these are persistent activities that we need to do, and you need to be truthful about it, okay? You need to be truthful. That's how you build people up. If they do an awful job, if the artwork that you make is awful, I know I'm not an artist, critic, or anything, but, I know what I hate, and I hate that. I would never say that to a person, but we need to be truthful. That's probably not for me. Good try, keep at it. We need to be very truthful in how we do things. We don't want to lie to people and say things we don't feel or don't think. And so as long as we can come to those terms, we can do that. And the last little bit of advice before I get going, and I mention this all the time, because people try this all the time, and they fail because of this. At first, it might seem contrived, meaning mechanical. Hello, Jill, I love you today. That sounds very mechanical, like, yeah, whatever. But it may at first, but if you just keep at it, it'll come out smoother. Your words and actions will reflect what's on the inside, but you got to keep going at it, right? And so we need to do that. Also, people may not trust your motives at first because it's not your true nature. So if I left a note for someone, let's say like my wife in her car in the morning, said, I love you, have a great day, she'd wonder what's wrong, because I never do that. But if you keep doing it, if you keep at it, if you keep working at it, then it becomes part of the nature, right? I say that because in many ways we become what people allow us to become. If we don't encourage those for doing these wonderful acts of encouragement, if we constantly slap and scold and correct, then they stop doing these things altogether. And so it's important for us to let people try it. Let people oh, that's close, but, maybe next time. Just kind of let it go. Kind of let them build it up and receive it. So as long as we can do that, let's get on to it. So Paul always starts with the most powerful tool in my shed, which is words. We can encourage and give strength to others through words of affirmation. Just saying supportive comments. There's a huge deal here. And I've learned, even since I was a kid, I've had a command of language, both farmer's language and, scholarship language. I've had both throughout my life. And I learned quickly that I could hurt someone really bad with my language. I could cut someone down. And I can still do that today, to be honest with you, if I wanted to. Language defines or creates the reality in which we live in. This is something taught to us from the very beginning as theologians, as psychologists, as philosophers. Language very much defines and creates the reality we live in. Not only that, the postmodernists got most things wrong, but what they did grab out of that is that we define our existence through stories, right? Your life is a story. And so language defines and sets and puts meaning and purpose to your life. And so this is a powerful tool for us. And Paul is saying, I've sent you this wonderful body of encouragement through this letter. Read it to others. Speak. Talk about it. Engage the people around you. I charge you before the Lord. I'm commanding you to read. Talk to others. Speak this encouragement to all the brothers and sisters around you. This is certainly important for us. Proverbs is pretty amazing because this isn't like someone who created this a couple of years ago. This is like thousands of years of human wisdom interacting with God and the world around it. This is the collective wisdom that's thousands of years old. Listen to what they say. The mouth of the righteous is a fountain of life, but violence overwhelms the mouth of the wicked. When we speak good and true and encouraging words, it's like bringing life to someone who's down. There's words that lift and bring life, but then there are also words that overwhelm, that create violence and destroy. Both of those are happening, and we have that. I see both of those played out in my world. And I have this digital version of communication, and then I have this one-on-one. I think I am, Gen X, is the last generation to be with and without the technology we have, and so we can live with it or without it. I mean, we could do it or we could throw it away. It doesn't bother us. But the fact is, it's with us now. Whether the world was better without social media or not, it's here. And I have never seen more vile, vicious, awful, violent garbage than I have in my entire life than what is exposed to your children, your youth, the adults every single day around them. And, you know, I read what God says about language and how important it is. So this isn't just about what we speak, it's about all language. Because your voice comes out in artwork, your voice comes out in writing, your voice comes out in your speech. And teachers can tell your voice if they work with you for a month. They know exactly what your voice is, right? You have a voice, and we want to honor the people around us with that, both in print or otherwise, because I tell you right now, I get stuff digitally from people that they would never say to me in person, ever. And I think I'm one of the last generations of those who can look at a person in the eye and shake their hand and want to spend that time just as a generation. And so it's very interesting to watch as this develops, and we're going to have to keep an eye on it. But we want to bring this good language to others, right? We want to lift people up with our language. I'm spending a little more time in this one than the other five because I think language matters. A good man brings good things out of the good stored up in his heart. And an evil man, woman, brings evil things out of the evil stored up in his heart. For out of the overflow of his heart, his mouth speaks. And so, what does your voice tell people about you? When you see these words and what it means to others. So I guess I'm happy when people see me, they smile. Maybe I'm on the top end of that, not the back end. But, you know, I certainly can cut someone down quick if I want. In very creative ways. And so it's something that God has given you. And so we can lift people up quickly with a word, just a word or a quick joke or a little satire, a little joke. I like that whole thing, to lift people up somehow. It's powerful. And it's best expressed in simple, straightforward statements. Just very simple statements, you know? You're right, that sucks, but I'm here with you. You'll be fine. Let's do this together. You know, it's amazing what simple words can do to someone and can lift them up. So let's do that for others, right? Let's bring them up with that. The other is the most precious commodity I own, time. And as I get older, the more this becomes precious to me. As my kids and my family begin to leave, as they get older, as they grow apart from me, meaning they have kids away from me, they have my grandkids, as they grow and leave, I cannot imagine anything more important than just time. Just time. And I've told my kid this for years. Don't buy me garbage anymore. I've got what I need, and you'll get the wrong thing anyway. Don't buy me stuff anymore. I just want time, right? But I know that is going to cost you more than you have. I know time is the most precious thing you have, and that's what I want. I want time. I want time with my kids. I want time with my friends. I want time with you. That's what I want. I suppose when you're starting to age out a bit, you start to appreciate it more, and it's something very important. And we urge you, brothers, warn those who are idle, encourage the timid, help the weak, be patient with everyone. I'm cool with all that. The last one's a little hard, Lord. I think that's a hard ask. But the rest of them, I can do that. I can do that. But look, all of those require time, doesn't it? If you want to urge on your brothers, if you want to warn and teach those who are idle what it means to succeed when you put dedication and practice into something, that takes time with them. One-on-one quality time. If you want to help someone that is weak, and I don't mean physically weak, I meant like weak. Oh, I don't want to do that, I might fail, or the mindset of weakness. To be able to spend time with someone, to develop courage, and to get them to take those steps forward, that takes time, right? To be patient with people takes time, quality time. And so let us not give up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but let's encourage each other, right? And all the more as the day approaches. Like I said, I think I think as I get older, just the simplicity of just sitting around a table and eating or enjoying just time, watching football or anything, just spending time together in a simple meal, breaking of bread. There's something about this act, I don't know what it is, it's always been there since the beginning of recorded history, that when you sit around to eat, there's something that happens. They call it the stray cat syndrome. If you feed them, they come back, right? And if you have that meal and you spend that time, you end up putting things down, you end up talking. You see where the phone is on this table? It's down because you got to have a fork, you have to have bread in your hand. You're forced to look up, you're supposed to eat. And there's just something powerful about just eating together. Again, these are not complicated asks, they're simple. But quality time, man, I'd take that any day. Acts of service. I will always have this in me. And if you ask what are the ones that fill me up the most with encouragement, is when people do things that I need done for me. That's the number one. You could talk to me all day long. You can write me notes, which I appreciate. I have one right here. But if you actually pick up a shovel and get to work with me, that's my needle. That's what moves mine. Well done, better than well said. Okay? I like that a lot. And when we see these acts of service, again, these are everyday, ordinary acts, like making lunch for someone, packing in the back, or just caring for someone. You see their trash cans are in the street because of the wind, and so you grab them and you move them up for your name. We're talking simple acts that seem whatever, but to serve one another, do things for one another. I know we have an example right over here. Though Jane started off simply, now we have almost 200 coats there. They're going to end up going to Project Hope because we gather together. It starts that way, right? To serve others, these acts of service. And it's a wonderful thing. Make sure that nobody pays back wrong for wrong, but always try to be kind to each other and to everyone else. Kindness, asking, moving, sacrificing for others. And it was Jesus who said this. There's no more scriptures that need to be talked about then. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. See, this is how societies are built. It's not a grappling of power. It's not this narcissistic thought that I don't care as long as I fulfill my whims and desires, no matter the cost of my future or no matter the cost of the people around me. That's not how you build a country. It's not how you build community. It's sacrifice. You serve others, you use kind words, you think of them as equal or even more than you, and you engage and you serve. That's how you build life. That's how you build a country. It's a wonderful thing. And so we serve others, right? We serve, these acts of service. Tangible gifts. I'm awful at this. I'm going to be honest with you. I pay you. What else do you want from me? Kind of a thing. It's whatever. But there are those who absolutely love this, and it is special for us to give a thank you, to be able to do that for others, and for some that means the world, right? The absolute world for us. And so I'm going to break the fourth wall here. We're going to talk about Thessalonica without actually being in Thessalonica or writing in Thessalonica, not to the Thessalonians, but the Philippians. For even when I was in Thessalonica, you sent me aid again and again when I was in need. I have received full payment and even more. I am amply supplied now that I have received the gifts you sent. And so you see Paul saying, man, these tangible gifts, some of it is as common as money. They print more of that garbage every day. Some of it is just getting a nice little present for someone, a coffee cup, because they're complaining that my cup keeps getting stolen. So they buy me a cup that says Executive Pastor Lewis on it. And then I'm guessing no one's going to take that. And so far it hasn't been taken. It's a simple act. It's a tangible thing I have in my office. And you're thinking, that's craziness. So you have that kind of gift. You have it sitting there. And it reminds people, hey, they thought about me. She thought about me. And so these are wonderful little things. They don't have to be great and big, grand things. But they're a physical object that you can hold or be around, something tangible, right? And do not forget to do good and to share with others. For with such sacrifices, God is pleased, right? Because God is a giver. Of course, when we have the heart of a giver, that's wonderful. And whenever you read anything about giving or tangible gifts or any kind of thing like that, they always indicate at the heart of it is caring. It's a spirit of giving. It's that genuine, like I said at the beginning, caring for others. You really do want to help. It's a wonderful thing. Okay, then the last one. I kept this to last. It wasn't the last on his list. It's the last on my list. So I told you I preached on this, more of a couples, family thing, 18 years ago. How many fingers ago was that? 7 years ago. I briefly touched on these. And I mentioned that my wife loves those, touches, quality touches. And so I negotiated down to 7. 7 a week, 7 a day, I can't remember. And I mentioned that to the congregation. And it isn't like a hearty pat on the back, because she gets to decide what that is, right? To this very week, I meet people, and you know what they ask me? 7 years later, you know what they ask me? Did you get your touches in? Did you get your touches in? Like, don't ever say anything up here personal. Some people like that, some people don't. But what I'm talking about here in general, for the care of everyone, Paul says it. Greet all brothers and sisters with the holy kiss. What's the holy kiss? You've seen it a million times. Not quite this, but that's a holy kiss too. You know, the thing, Why is that? It is because the Christian faith is tactile, right? It's tactile, it's closeness, it's proximity, it's breaking of bread, right? It's water, baptism, breaking of bread and wine. There's something very tactile about our faith. It's about embracing in hugs. It's caring for people. It's being there. It's tears. It's tissue paper. It's important. It's a connection. It's very important for us to have this. And God talks about this proximity, about being close and spending quality time. And that physical touch is huge in our life. Absolutely huge. Now, I'm going to be honest, I probably didn't have the tendency to anyway, but HR sort of beat that out of me over the years, like, oh, don't be touching no employees, don't be touching kids, don't be doing, so, but oftentimes, I'm 6'5.5", so when people hug me, I'm like a trunk. It's just like hugging a trunk of a tree, and I'm like, it's always weird for me. So I kind of come in from the side if I can and pat on the back or things. So hugging hasn't been natural to me just because of my size, but I cannot tell you how powerful it is when we make that connection, when we shake a hand, when we hug, when we wipe a tear, when we break bread. This is very powerful, very powerful. And I don't know if we're going to bring back the holy kiss anytime soon after the panic attack we had in 20 and 21, right? And so we should do that next week. Everyone should give each other the what did he say exactly? The holy kiss. Should we do that right now? Everyone give each other the holy kiss? Yeah. That's okay. We can be quality. We can be around people. One of the great stories that talks about kind of that put together with quality time is the walk to Emmaus. We're not going to cover all that. Read it. It's in the sermon notes. Grab them on the way out. Luke 7, just put in walk to Emmaus. And look what happened. Just watch that interaction of being close, breaking bread, talking, and how the great breakthrough happened for the people on this journey. And it's very wonderful to see that being laid out. And we can have that with one another as well. So, do we remember what they all are? What was the first one? Okay, words of affirmation. That's your one. You can't bring it up again. Ready? That was 2. Quality time. Good job. 3. Acts of service. Fantastic. 4. Tangible gifts. Absolutely. And the last one you don't need to worry about. Physical touch, quality touches, right? Quality touches that we can have, these touch points. It takes 7 adults to have those touch points with the youth to raise them up. Okay, 7. So parents, teachers, those that are praying on them, 7 adults around a child to raise them up. These are touch points, and they care about that. And kids don't care about HR policy. They just run up and hug me, and they jump on me, and we play, and we swing around. I mean, it's just one of those things. It's important to us. I agree. All right, well, we started there. Let's end there. Therefore, encourage one another and build each other up, just as, in fact, you are already receiving, you are already doing. Amen.